Coming up, it's time for MacBreak Weekly, episode 179. We'll talk about the new Aperture 3. We'll also talk about the controversy brewing in the tech world over taking bribes for coverage. And our picks of the week. It's all coming up with Merlin Mann. MacBreak Weekly is next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for MacBreak Weekly is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is MacBreak Weekly, episode 179 for February 9th, 2010. QUID Pro Air. MacBreak Weekly is brought to you by Go to My PC. Unchain yourself from your office PC and access it from anywhere with Go to My PC. For your free 30-day trial, visit gotomypc.com/MacBreak. And by Squarespace.com, the fast and easy way to publish a high-quality website or blog. For a free trial and 10% off your new account, go to squarespace.com/MacBreak. And by Audible.com. To download a free audiobook of your choice, go to audible.com/MacBreak. It's time for MacBreak Weekly, the show that covers all the Apple stuff. And here he is, the Apple guy, back from the Seychelles, which is, I believe, a kind of apple.
It is. I don't know if they have any apples there, but they've got lots of coconuts.
Mr. Alex Lindsay of the Pixel Corps, pixelcorps.tv for the podcast, pixelcorps.com.
Yes.
For the amazing Guild of Multimedia Artists. Any specials or anything you want to talk about?
Not this week,
Soon.
but very soon. We are just finishing up a whole new Pixel Corps membership, and it should be coming out. A lot of people are going to be excited about it, but it won't come out for another week or two.
Soon.
It's coming soon, though. But we're going to be doing, the one thing I will say is that if you're not subscribed to MacBreak Video, we're going to be doing heavy, you should, because we're going to be doing heavy coverage of...
this is Macworld?
This is Macworld. So we'll have somewhere between 25 and 50 episodes that we're going to do over the next, week.
You're so crazy. Now, you don't release it all at once.
No, we put it out a couple a day because we need to take care of our bandwidth provider and not crush them, because people get kind of excited if we put too many on at one time. So, yeah, it'll be over about 2 or 3 weeks that you'll see all of it.
Good. That's why, by the way, Andy Ihnatko's not here. It's kind of ironic. He's in town, but he's not here.
He's prepping. He's going to be doing some of the stuff. Justine Ezrick's going to be doing some. I'm going to be doing some. Fred's going to be doing some. Merlin's going to be doing some, right, Merlin?
Merlin Mann, ladies and gentlemen.
I just love throwing him right
Hi,
on
everybody. This is Merlin Mann from MacBreak.
Where the hell did he come from?
Coverage from my chair. Excited about the iPad? Sure you are.
Are you going to do Tiny Town?
Merlin,
I should. I got to be there anyway. I'm going to be visiting with my friends at Audible Group, and I should probably do a thing there.
Do it. Do Tiny Town with us.
Tiny Town
People hate it, Alex. People hate when I do stuff at Macworld for you guys. They hate it. It drives them crazy.
They love it.
Merlin, you are the most sensitive person I know. He's the most.
I'm not the most sensitive person you know.
I got it. See what he did there? He is the most beloved figure on the internet today, and yet constantly he's always looking over his shoulder. See that? He just doesn't realize how beloved he is.
I love doing it. I love the. I love them.
So nobody's saying don't let Merlin do MacBreak. Nobody's saying that,
we
right?
We want him on Tiny Town.
All right, I'll do Tiny Town. I'll take Tiny Town. All right.
Tiny Town is that little alleyway at Macworld, although. Just between you and me, I think it's going to be the whole show at Macworld Expo of all the little booths, the smaller companies, right?
Yeah. I actually think that it would be a good idea to limit the booth size at Macworld. I mean, really, because it would make it feel more even. Because, in the past, it's been like this thing that,
monster booths.
How can you compete with that? And then you feel smaller. I think everybody should just have a 10x10 booth. That's kind of what it's like
what you could do also is you could have everybody vote, and you get a booth based on how interesting people think you are. So Panic gets FileMaker Pro's booth, and maybe FileMaker Pro gets, independent enterprise.
Wouldn't that be justice? And Adobe's off in the corner somewhere. No, I guess Adobe's pretty important.
They're popular.
Yeah,
people would
sure.
vote for them.
You'd hate to not have air.
Well, how would I tweet without air? No, but Photoshop. Hey, that's one of the big stories right today. This morning, I went to the Apple store, as I am wont to do, because I like to buy something right before they introduce anything new.
Or did you buy a MacBook?
I came so close. I thought, any day now, but then I decided not to. They closed the store, and I thought, oh, shoot, I missed the opportunity to buy an outdated piece of hardware. But then they came back on, and lucky me, it was Aperture 3.
Right.
So, but I do think we are due for MacBooks, right?
The rumors are getting rich. Yes, that the pipe is emptying and preparing for something new.
Merlin, you want a 10-inch, don't you? Of course, who doesn't?
Well, I'm just happy to have anything at all. I like my MacBook. I got a unibody MacBook, and I like it a lot. If I
isn't
think
a unibody kind of like a unitard? I mean, isn't it?
Well, I don't score well. I'm not going to lie to you, but I don't know if I'm mine. I want to. If they make a sexy new iPhone, I would think about that. And
now, typically, they announce iPhones in March, right? And they ship in June. So I think you're safe on the iPhone deal.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to give my lady a new computer. She's gone a pretty old one. So, this time I think I'd look for the bounce in terms of, losers abandoning perfectly good computers because of the future. And I would want to scoop up maybe a MacBook Pro or something. Maybe.
I'm dying for, I love that 13. I have a 15.
I have a 13 at the house that I'm slowly moving everything over to. I think I'm actually moving to a 13 because I can't open this on flights.
Yeah.
I mean,
of course, remember you're going to be having a pad in a couple of. Sorry, I'm still the high school kid. I just can't. I can't not laugh. You will have an iPad soon.
I often thought I needed an iPad.
Yeah, I thought so too. I'll never forget going to. See, Merlin's smiling. He knows where I'm going. House of Prime Rib, and it was Ben Durbin, I think. Now this is a place where you go and they have a meat blimp, a Zeppelin, that comes around and it's got a.
It floats.
It's got the side of a cow.
It's a steer dirigible. It's a good size, and they introduce you to the guy who's going to slice the meat for
you. There's a lot of moo,
and inside is a beautiful prime rib.
Yes,
and you can have the King Henry cut. Although Merlin has taught us that you actually, what do you get? You get the Prince William cut, and then you just get seconds.
Is this a tip? Should I share the tip?
Yeah.
The tip is
for all of you coming to Macworld Expo this week.
Well, it's good. You go there and it's not cheap, but it's not that expensive for what you get. And basically their menu is 4 kinds of rib roast, and you pick which size you want, and you get all the sides with it. Now, I would say you can save a little dough if you want to get the typical, what's called the House of Prime rib cut. If you're very hungry, you can get the King Henry VIII. I think mostly you just get extra bone. And then at the end, they will offer you another slice, and you should.
Aha. That's the key. You will get offered more.
That's where you make your money back.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So we're sitting there and we're all contemplating large cuts of meat. Really, the only debate is King Henry or the Henry VIII or the IV.
Yes.
Or Hank Sank if you really like the the middle ground. And Ben Durbin orders fish.
He doesn't eat meat.
Yeah.
So Merlin says, "Would you like an iPad with that?" Little did we know, 3 years later, how prescient he was.
I'm still waiting for the
Can I play
Yellow
a
Submarine
little jingle here? Just one little.
Rat hole.
Thank you.
I missed that.
Good to be back.
Thank you, Merlin Mann. You saved us from continuity. Back to the MacBook Pro, i5 and i7.
Yes.
New processors from Intel.
It seems like it would make sense to put them in there.
Absolutely. And of course, the PC manufacturers are going to be using them. And usually Apple has first pride of place. So I think it's absolutely certain that a new MacBook. In fact, I was stunned this morning when it was just Aperture 3.
Yeah. No, I think that within the next 2 weeks, that's my guess. By March 1.
It's ironic though. If they announce it this week, then the whole thing about saying we don't want to do Macworld because we don't want to have this announcement.
And then they announce Aperture and MacBook Pro.
MacBook Pro, and they could have iPad. They could have waited a week.
Yeah.
Paul Kent's just got to be fuming. Got to be fuming.
It actually goes straight to their stated reason why they didn't want to do it, which is, I don't know if this is the actual phrase they use, but, we have Macworld every day at hundreds of Apple stores.
Right.
So they're going to get the bounce off of poor Paul Kent's back. They're going to benefit from Macworld even if they're not participating in it.
Wouldn't it be cool if they had a prime rib Zeppelin at the Apple store?
Whoa. You're saying they roll in the dirigible of beef.
Yeah.
They're extending their brand and they're reaching out.
Yeah. But it would have to be white. like white, kind of
white,
shiny. So it wouldn't be metal; it'd be like a white, a white there. And
or what about the unibody blimp?
And there wouldn't be any knives. It would just cut itself. It would just,
I'm sorry, Steve doesn't believe in knives.
Yes, exactly.
So you'll be using our special
so you
spork.
have to tear it off with your hands.
Right. There's one utensil. That's all you need.
Yeah, that's all anyone should need.
That's right. Calcanis says it's going to have solar panels.
I got a very angry email. I've been getting them for a while saying, every time you have Jason Calacanis on the network, I'm going to withdraw $2 from your donation because of his prank on everybody the day before the iPad. But it seemed to me that he was doing a parody of the overheated rumor mill, and it was pretty clear. Can you not do parody anymore because people will not understand it and get angry?
I think that the main thing is he took the press down a path that they didn't quite understand.
That's what I loved.
It was like that was the best part.
That part.
It was like, I'm going to be silly.
CNN goes, well, this is the latest rumor.
Right.
Well, I'm the last person in the world to tell people they have to be constrained to one role or the other, but he has not typically been a parodist.
I see.
And
so had you said it, it would have been obvious.
Yeah, because I don't care.
And you would have gone way more over the top too.
Yeah, and I don't know. It was at the same time. You know what? This is not even worth wasting breath on. It's a shame that he did it.
Sounds you are a little angry. You're a little irate.
No, I'm not angry. I've never met the guy, but I don't want to talk trash. I think it was a disappointing. I think it was a disappointing thing to do.
Oh, okay.
And I think it's. I don't know. It's not like I'm some big audience advocate, but he's got a lot of people who inexplicably follow what he does, and I think it was kind of damaging and dumb.
Okay, so there you go.
I love parody. Though, don't get me wrong.
No, opposing viewpoint, but you do make a point. If you don't do parody regularly, and you don't perhaps have that fine-tuned wit that Merlin has, where you pretty obviously when Merlin makes a joke, you know it's a joke.
Well, you look at somebody like Kevin. Kevin Rose, who I guess may or may not have access to these things. Every time Kevin says something, regardless of how likely it is to happen, that becomes a story.
Right.
And I think it's reasonable for somebody who's as interested in public attention as Mr. Calacanis is to be aware that he's going to get a bounce, whether he deserves it or not, based on having said something that's up about a hot topic. And it's like, almost everybody who pulls an April Fool's joke finds a way of mentioning the date.
Right.
Just to kind of let you know the tongue's in cheek. It's not. It's. I don't know. It's hard. The social media stuff is complicated, but I think we owe it to people to.
Yeah, I think that okay. And in his defense, I will say it is a new medium, and we don't. I mean, Twitter. It's not. Well, you've managed to make Twitter a really great platform for.
Yeah, but everybody hates me because of it. It's. I'm using it as a jerk platform, but it's funny. So many. Oh God, put that away.
I'm showing his Twitter. I love the baseball mitt, the catcher's mitt photo drawing of you. So good.
Isn't that nice? You can see. That. But it is true, and but what it really shows more than anything else is changing the topic. It's called a segue in the business. Is that a couple things? First of all, it shows how much it's a lesson in how much people do listen when a quote unquote pundit says something.
That's true. There's a lot of weight, and if you're going to be a pundit, is what you're saying. If you're going to be a parodist, be a parodist.
And the criticism, whether it's fair or not, all the time, the criticism people make of the web and of blogs, and particularly of things like Wikipedia, is that there's not a journalistic standard of fact-checking. Right. And that's why it frustrates me sometimes, if you're asking, that there's so many people who make a career out of guessing what's going to happen with things without any kind of basis other than listening to other people who are guessing.
Let us, the pros, do your guessing for you.
But second, it shows you that this is a company who makes things that get people really excited. Like, when's the last time you saw that much buzz about a rumor about an HP ThinkPad?
That's obvious. Yeah, I mean, Apple.
But no, and that's not a slam, but it's just a way of saying that obviously there's a lot of brand equity behind the stuff that Apple makes, and people have an emotional connection with it that you don't see with that many other kinds of things. And that's what's frustrating to people who buy commodity PCs and then don't understand why quote unquote fanboys get so excited. My friend Adam from Adam Lissagore, he just had a great essay about why he thinks it's okay to be excited about the iPad.
Yeah.
It was very well done. I recommend people read it, lindleysandwich.com. And it's just a really wonderful way of saying, hey, look, this stuff, you can't tell what this stuff is going to be. But if past is prelude, I do tend to trust this company as a place that makes interesting things. And this, based on my experience, was like the iPhone. this is going to be something that I think will be a third device, anyway.
I'm with you. In fact, I think we're all in agreement. I don't think there's a... Now, of course, we're accused of being rabid Apple fanboys because we're doing that
I'm not
show.
saying I even 100% agree with that. I think it's going to be fine. I think it's going to be pretty. I think it's going to be great. But I do respect people who want to say... What?
Sorry. I just puckered you. I'm sorry.
Okay, I had it coming.
I forgot I had the Mac turned on there. So I want to talk more about this, but we've got to talk about Squarespace.com, our fine sponsor, the people who do that incredible, it's web hosting, it's a CMS, it's both. It's great software for running your website, blog, or photo album, or any number of things, but also a great server as well. So it does the hosting and it does the software.
It's what we use for Twiplog and a bunch of our other sites that we're putting up right now, and it's just I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about installing it. I don't want to think about get an HTML coder. I just want to be able to put it up and I think about the content.
And man,
yeah, I want to use it. If they want to send me because I have no ethics, if they wanted to send me a freebie, I would.
We'll set you up. They'll be very glad. We use them for our Inside Twit blog. We'll be very glad to set you up. This would be great for your Tumblr log. It'd be great for. Now I know you use Drupal for 43 folders. That's a very powerful system. But think of all the all the work.
I just love.
Well, you know what it is, Leo. It's really hard to find a good app for posting from an iPhone. And
the iPhone on this, the iPhone app, it is. I mean, you're going to blog more because you can do it right from the iPhone. It's incredible. Great stats, great templates that you can completely customize with drag and drop. You'll never go offline because their virtual server technology guarantees bandwidth all the time. I can just go on and on, but the best thing to do is try it for yourself. You can import your WordPress or your TypePad or your Blogger blog right into it. Export too, so you're never stuck in. Comments and all, just go to squarespace.com and use the promo code MacBreak. Squarespace.com/MacBreak to sign up for the free trial. And if you use the promo code MacBreak when you decide to buy, and it costs as little as $8 a month, you get 10% off. Squarespace.com/MacBreak. We thank them so much for their support of MacBreak Weekly. But now we must get on with the conversation at hand. Merlin Mann is with us, as well as Alex Lindsay. Andy's in town for a Mac World Expo. We'll get him on many, many times on MacBreak this week. Boy, we are all over the place, but I like it. I'm not saying anything wrong with it. What did you think, as long as we're talking about journalistic faux pas, of the little brouhaha over at TechCrunch? Did you follow that?
I did not follow the TechCrunch brouhaha.
Merlin, did you? Daniel Brusilovsky, we all know him. He's a young guy. He's under 18, I think. And I wouldn't have mentioned his name except that he himself has blogged the story.
Are you talking about? Oh, you're talking about the MacBook Air incident.
Yeah,
I thought you were talking about Wile E. Coyote trying to catch the Roadrunner on Google Campus.
That's another one, but we'll save that for next week.
That was very interesting. He's a guy Daniel has been doing. I thought his name sounded familiar.
Oh, he's been here. He started this like when he was 14, and he wanted to come up here, and he said, but can my mom drive me? I mean, really, seriously, he was a kid.
Very, very enthusiastic. He reached out to me a few times, asked me to be on podcasts and stuff, and do stuff with him. And
he does the Teens in Tech conference. Mm-hmm. Yeah. However, he's a kid. He made a mistake. Now, I'm tying this into the Calacanis episode. Mm-hmm. Calacanis is an adult, but I think a kid, we're going to give him a little more slack. But he did something that was... You
should probably tell people precisely what happened.
It was reprehensible. I mean, if an adult had done this, if I had done this, my career would be over. He solicited apparently a number of companies saying, I'll give you coverage on TechCrunch, which is simply the most influential tech blog out there right now, certainly for the web and startups. I'll give you coverage if you give me a MacBook Air. Wow. And one of the companies...
Was it really, I mean, did they verify, was it really that
Was the quid pro quo that strong?
Did he really say quid pro quo? Was that really what happened?
Well, he hasn't said exactly what happened. TechCrunch, to their credit, because he is a kid, didn't say. But what they did do is they pulled every article he ever written for TechCrunch, saying, well, we can't be sure that any of these other articles are clean now.
Wow.
And it's like a shattered glass kind of thing.
Right. And nobody's gainsayed the company who wrote about this, saying, hey, we were just approached by a TechCrunch writer saying, we'll cover you if you give me a notebook.
Right.
So, and nobody said that didn't happen. So I don't know. I mean, unless somebody steps forward. Daniel's own post, the last thing he wrote, which was 4 days ago on his own blog, which is danielbrew.com, was the line was crossed.
Intransitive, passive voice.
Yeah. Mistakes were made. In some way or another, a line was crossed that never should have been. At this time, I do not want to go into details, but I will publicly say I'm truly sorry to my family, friends, TechCrunch, and especially the tech community. Yeah, if I were him, just a little advice, Daniel, I'd tell the whole story, say exactly what happened.
Get it out.
Throw
Get it out
yourself on the
quickly.
sword, because you don't want us talking about it without the details. And say, I'm a kid. It will never happen again. And, I think people will give him that slack. Yeah. Whereas now Jason, who didn't commit nearly the same crime, is getting pilloried for parody.
Which I guess I feel like I can see how the press would miss the parody.
Well, it's not their job.
As
And
soon as they started listing what he said, I mean, to me, it seemed like it was very obvious.
3 cameras and solar panels kind of gave that away.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, it gets to a deeper issue. I don't really have that much of an opinion about what happened with TechCrunch, except in as much as I don't follow TechCrunch closely, but my sense is, pardon me, my sense is that that's something that Michael faces on a pretty regular basis, is concern about who he decides to cover and why. Again, I don't have an opinion about that. I do think that's something that he sweats, and I think it's something that everybody sweats, because even the most prestigious journalist at this point is being questioned
Absolutely.
on any number of levels right now. I think the credibility in government and journalism it has got to be...
We have to be beyond suspicion. We have to be like Caesar's wife.
And yet we've all done things that somebody could make a big thing about. I mean, we've all haven't we? Microsoft brought me, I didn't even realize it until I was there, but Microsoft brought me up for this, we want to show you our search stuff. One of these, and everybody, a ton of people. I saw Michael there. I saw Gina there.
I don't do those, by the way. For that very reason, I don't do that. I never accept travel from any tech company.
What about sneak peeks?
Don't do them.
So you're an author.
I don't sign NDAs. I don't do embargoes. I don't do, but for this exact reason you say, Merlin, we have to go. We have to bend over backwards, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I get that, and I respect that. But here's one problem, in my opinion, is that when you get into stuff like disclosures, which are obviously a good idea, if you are, if you're a shareholder for a company that you've got the beat for, there's a continuum here. There's things where we could all look at it and go, yeah, that quacks like a duck. That's what this is, versus, oh, that's fine. The continuum is what makes it hard. There's all kinds of places in between. And the part that I think is challenging is that by itself, a disclosure means very little, because if people don't trust you, disclosing something will never make them trust you. All you can really do is lose credibility by not disclosing. It's a no-win situation. And in a weird way, a lizard brain way, the more you disclose and the more you're constantly kind of excusing these things that may or may not matter, in a way, the more suspicious people become of you. I think if somebody's constantly going, oh, by the way, that meeting I had was not, you know what I mean? I don't know where the line is, because the real credibility comes from doing something well over time and having people come to trust that you're giving them the straight dough.
But this is why this discussion is actually very important, and this is why, as you said, Merlin, it's a different world we live in, because there are all these new people, new bloggers, who don't have a tradition. They don't have an ethics agreement that they've signed.
Well, I think they don't have the experience, too, to know what... Sometimes they think that's what everybody's doing.
Well, that's why I think it's good for us to step up and say, hey, it isn't what everybody's doing. Right. And there is...
I never knew. People have sent me stuff, and I never knew that you're supposed to return review copies. I have not taken... I don't think... my deal is this. If you want to send me something and I have no strings as far as even having to open it, let alone send it back or write anything about it, that's fine. I think the trouble becomes if you're somebody my sense is somebody one of the gadget blogs, they generally send stuff back. They don't keep it.
And they have office staff, unlike you.
Or Andy gets a review copy of it.
Yeah, and he has a very strict policy of returning all that stuff. As do I, although I try not to even accept review units, because even that to me, now I have a luxurious position because I can afford to buy them. Mm-hmm. Whereas most freelancers, especially, they're not going to buy everything they have to review.
And we get stuff all the time that we're
you're in a double position, because you have a business. They send stuff to you to test for
a variety of things, and we have a situation, and there's a whole variety of.
You can kind of firewall yourself off from that.
Yeah, I mean, it just we have stuff coming in all the time. I mean, the thing is especially in the kind of software that we look at, it doesn't make sense for us to buy everything we're going to everything we're going to talk about, because it's like $6,000 for a piece of application.
If it's a key light or something.
But I'm very clear with people. I'm interested in looking at your interested in looking at your software. I'm not promising that I'm going to do anything with it. I'm just not. I'm interested in taking a look at it.
Well, that's what a lot of ethical conversations come down to is, well, but I won't be influenced by it. And I think that's where we get in a little bit of trouble, because I hear this all the time, mostly from press who want to go on those junkets. That's a really popular thing to do, is go to those.
It's huge. So huge.
I've been invited to Israel, to India, I've been invited all over the world.
I got invited to Dubai. I got invited to Dubai. They were going to fly me first class to Dubai.
Yep.
You same one? This is out there. Now, let me ask you this. Now, I think I know how Alex would answer this, honestly, so I'm going to put this out awkwardly. You get an NFR for something.
Yeah.
That's not for resale. That's a review copy of.
Yeah, that usually means, I think the technical way, my understanding of an NFR is that you're going to review a piece of software. If you get an NFR, do you delete it?
No.
After you, do you like get rid of it?
Software, I think software is a little different. Yeah. Software has so little value. It's just bits.
Final Cut Pro. If you got an NFR Final Cut Pro, would you never use it again after you?
I have purchased 3 copies of Final Cut Pro Studio. I would really like to get a free one.
Yeah.
Well, Alex, because I could get a free copy of Final Cut.
Yeah.
In fact, mostly the reason I don't is because I don't want the entanglement that involves, and I don't want to go through the pain. I'd rather buy it.
Yeah, and for a lot of software that we just buy it, and then for other ones we get.
But that's a good point. Final Cut's so expensive that's more than just bits at that point.
And I've got friends who, like, I have no problem saying this. I've got friends with independent software companies. Again, I don't review stuff, but like I've got friends who are like, hey, here's serials for all of our apps because we just want you to use them.
Yeah.
That's
okay. I think. I don't think that's a problem. No, I don't think that's a problem.
Well, and we distribute. I mean, I'm also in this. I'm kind of in this situation where I also am a software. We make software.
Well, that's you're in this double
triple or quadruple.
Yeah, you have
situation.
A lot of hats.
But what the thing is that we. I'm happy to send stuff out. We get reviewers who email us and say, I don't spend a lot of time trying to make them prove that they're going to do it or report back to it. I just want them to have it in their hands. And I figure, well, if they have it in their hands and if they're playing with it, I don't want to send them a timed copy. I don't want them to delete it. What I want them to do is just let it sit on their computer. And if they use it, they use it. If they don't, they don't. Eventually, they might talk about it. And that's and it's not just press people, as people who I think are influencers, so to speak, and that can be people at schools, they can be people at and we do that all the time. And so and I guess from a software perspective, most of them don't ever talk about it, and we don't feel like they owe us anything.
Well, and to your point, Merlin, I mean, I guess in that case it is a gray area, and so we all do in that sense. I mean, I've done that. In fact, to be honest, it hasn't happened in a while, but Apple has sent me just unsolicited, just iPods have shown up on my desk.
Right.
And I have sometimes returned them, but we have a couple here that I've just kept because I don't use them personally, but we use them to test the video to make sure it works. So we want one of each. But that's I should return those. I think you're right.
Well, you actually got to it with a couple things. One of them is when you talk about embargoes. Like, well, personally, like anybody who knows me knows that I loathe the whole like PR blast thing, because I don't think I've ever in my life written anything from a press release. Not just because I don't think that's necessarily like illegitimate, but I think it's a shame that so much content has to originate in a corporate announcement. And I feel beholden. I end up leaving people with the impression that I owe them a favor because of what? Access. And when you talk about these embargoes, now let's say you're Johnny Blogger and you've got your little tech blog spot account. Not to sound condescending, but like you've got something you're trying to bootstrap, and some company that's well known notices you and goes, "Hey, what if we send you a laptop, to check out or whatever?" Are you going to say no? Sure. I mean, if you're somebody who went to the Columbia Journalism School, yes, you will. But I don't think that's something that's super clear to a lot of people. And to the other point about the NFRs. To your point, Leo, specifically, I think there's new economies of scale in software and the web that people are still sorting out. And so, yeah, I mean, you could call it influencers, you call it whatever. You look at Mac Heist. People are losing their shirts in some ways on Mac Heist, but they're very happy to get their app in front of thousands and thousands of people. So the incremental cost of giving somebody an NFR is next to zero.
Well, that's definitely how we calculate it. I mean, when we're looking at the cost of our software, I mean, there is definitely a cost, and people are. But I mean, when we talk about marketing, the cheapest marketing in the world is sending someone who is talking about what we do, some software that they can test and figure out, and that's not something that we consider a heavy cost to our, what we do.
I have to take a break. Speaking of
sponsors,
I have to take a break. But by the way, I'll tell you something after this commercial. But we're going to be back. Merlin Mann is our guest. It's so great to have you, Merlin. Always thoughtful, interesting conversations.
I don't know about that. It's great to be here.
And funny hats. We love having you on. Alex Lindsay. There's the funny hat. There we go.
I don't have a funny hat.
Alex Lindsay. Bring one. Well, hey, I have a whole hat rack full of funny. You pick one. Oh. You don't have to wear it. And we'll be back with more MacBreak Weekly in just a little bit. I do want to finally talk about Aperture 3, which started this conversation half an hour, maybe 45 minutes ago. Hey, look at that. He's a Yale University class of 57. That's pretty cool. 50th anniversary reunion. That looks good. They make the old men wear hats. It's kind of funny. I want to mention our friends at Citrix and Go to My PC. Now, this is a commercial, just so you know, just to be full disclaimer. This is a paid commercial. This is, like radio and TV. This is free media paid for by advertising. And I admit there is some issue with that. And, I've grappled with that. So what we do is we only do one advertisement every half hour. We do ads only for things that we used before they asked us to do ads for them.
See, now you sound cagey.
I know. You can't win, can you?
Right.
But God, I love Go to My PC.
What's the deal with that Go to My PC? Tell me a little. Is this conversational?
We have to do ads. I'm sorry. It's the only. I try to do it. No, I agree. And I think that as long as we say this is an advertisement now, it's okay. But just so you know. We tried to do the donation route, and I just didn't. Nice hat. Wouldn't have been able to do what we're doing today if it weren't for our great advertisers. So they support us. We support you. One of the things we ask our advertisers to do, and I think it's great, is give you free trials for a month. Not because you're pressed, not because they want to influence you, but because I believe, and I think they do too, that the best way to decide if something's right for you is to try it first. Go to My PC is remote. And the other thing we try to do with the ads is we don't do tricksy ads where we go, you're going to die if you don't have Go to My PC on your computer. We say the features, and it's kind of old-fashioned, features and benefits, choose for yourself after you try it. I think that is a clean ad. That is the kind of ad I like to do. And fortunately, we have such good advertisers with so much integrity that they agree. Go to My PC is a remote access product from these guys, Citrix. They do it for enterprise. They are the kings of this stuff. But what they've done is they've taken their remote access and they've made it really easy to use, very secure, 128-bit SSL. So there's never been an exploit with Go to My PC. It's really secure, private stuff. Very easy to install. In fact, if you go there right now, go to mypc.com/MacBreak, and we give you that URL, not because you can't go anywhere else on the website, but because then they know that you heard this on MacBreak. And try it for free for 30 days. I think you'll see why this is what we use. It's very fast, very easy to install, take you 30 seconds. And important to mention, Mac and Windows. And, there are a lot of remote access products that are not both. You could talk to a PC from a Mac, talk to a Mac from a PC, PC to PC, or Mac to Mac. Use any program, work on any file, check email, access network resources, all like that. Go to mypc.com/MacBreak. I invite you to give them a try. We thank them for their support, and we give you 30 days of unlimited use free, and that's the best way to find out if it's right for you. Go to mypc.com/MacBreak. Great conversation, and I think one we'll have more of on the ethical issues. And I don't know if there's really any clear resolve to it, but I think it's such an important thing to talk about.
I do think it's important to say what happened. So a lot of times, I try to make it clear when I'm talking about a piece of software or hardware that, if it was sent to us as a review copy or as a test, piece of device or whatever, I'll say this company sent this to us, to play with, or this company sent us this stuff to test, as opposed to
disclosure is the minimum.
Yeah,
disclosure is the minimum.
Can I also? I'll kiss your butt a little bit, Leo. because this is another side of this that I think is interesting. And then we should talk about Macs.
Yeah.
But the other side of this is interesting is like, I think it's interesting how many people use advertising as a deliberate nuisance. And so in your case, you're doing called a DJ read, right? You're saying this is something I like and use, and like they pay for this, and that's cool. You're doing the equivalent in some ways of like, you know, when TV shows would be sponsored, you know, by Ajax or whatever. Now, what I think is interesting is people who go like, oh, blah, blah, I've got this website, I take all these ads, I'm filling every conceivable corner of my site with run-of-network ads. And for those of you who don't know, run-of-network ads are the very low money earning, I don't care where this goes as long as it goes somewhere. And then what do? Well, if you give me $1 a month, you won't have to see ads.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so no, that does to me, that shows disrespect in two ways, in my opinion. First of all, it shows disrespect to your users because it says we're going to give you something that we perceive to be a nuisance in order to get you to give extra money. But even worse, in some ways, it says to your advertisers, we consider you to be a nuisance for hire that we happen to make money from.
Right.
And I think
stuff like I like that. I hadn't really thought about that. And I'll tell you the real reason we don't do, and I get this suggestion all the time. People say, "Oh, please do an ad-free supported version." And I just never have considered that. For one reason, I know it doesn't work. But the other reason is we have such a techie audience. How long before somebody makes a feed of that ad-free version? Well, and I don't want to do the whack-a-mole. But you're right, Merlin. I think that's even another good thing that kind of I hadn't really thought of. But you're right. It kind of implies that somehow we're using you if you're not going to give us a buck.
And I think that, you know, when we look at advertisers for our shows, and I think that this happens mostly with the shows that are here, you know, we're working with advertisers that we use. We're working with advertisers that we think are useful. You know, there have been a lot of advertisers for This Week in Photography, for a variety of other shows that I've turned down. I've just literally just said, you know, we're not going to have those. We don't use their products. We're not, you know, I'm not interested in that. You know, when we talk about Squarespace or we talk about Drobo or Audible, these are all things that we use. You know, this is all part of our pipeline, and that's something I'm very comfortable having them as advertisers. You know, I'm not, you know, comfortable. Like, you know, we've had a camera manufacturer that wanted to advertise on TWIP, and we don't use them.
That's a little tricky. Yeah,
they said, you know, I said I can't have them on the show. They want to spend a lot of money with us, and I was like, I can't have them on the show because none of us use that piece.
And it would cause this big editorial disconnect too, because you know people who listen to the show know.
Yeah. I was like, I can't go down that path.
I know.
You know?
Yeah. That's right.
When I first signed up, last thing on this, when I first signed up with my old ad company, who was great people, really good to me, and really, I think, you know, they did some good stuff. They, you know, I was like, I want ads for Macs on my site and space pens and moleskin notebooks, and they were like, do you understand how advertising works? And I was like, yeah, people give me money because I'm a blogger, and they're like, well, actually, people give you money because they want people on your site to know about something they don't know about. And so a lot of times people don't advertise. I mean, certainly people like, you know, the Cokes and Pepsis and Visas of the world want to build brand presence. But, you know, I was
let's add
much
Google
more
to that if you saw the Google ad on the Super Bowl.
Sure. I mean, they're about creating an emotion and a connection and kind of escalating the relationship with existing users. But a lot of time reasons people buy an ad are not because the people there already use it. It's because they don't. You know, so that becomes a challenge too. If you say like, oh, well, I've never used this. I'm like, well, you know, we don't care. What we care is that we piggyback or whatever you want to call it onto your success with your audience in order to expose them to something that they don't know about. So anyway, if you're going to do anything for money as an adult, you're going to have to accept that it's a money thing and it's going to be awkward. And you've got to figure out what you're comfortable doing and then do it. Because, I mean, you know, there's always going to be somebody who thinks you're a giant hypocritical jerk. And then there's always going to be people who are like, oh, come on, that's nothing. So, I mean, it's really up to you to decide this stuff and then just stand behind it.
You got to make a living at some point.
It helps.
Right? Somebody has to, you know, you got a kid, I got a kids, Alex has kids. We got to make a living. We can't do this. We do it for fun. And I think sometimes that's one of the things that actually happens is that people say, no, you can't make money on this because you're clearly having way too much fun. You should be doing this for free.
Well, I mean, but the thing is that the quality of our coverage increases when we make revenue on it. I mean, that's the way I look at it. I mean, I can't afford to do the kind of coverage that we do for whether you're looking at covering Macworld or we're going to be covering the PMA, basically the photographic Macworld and NAB over the next couple months.
That's expensive.
I can't commit to flying people down and shooting and editing and all that stuff.
$60,000 for CES. We
Yeah,
lost money on CES.
At the heart of it, we would not be able to spend 40 minutes talking about why we accept advertising if we didn't accept advertising.
Let's be honest. All right, I got to ask you about Aperture 3. Has anybody tried the new Aperture 3
I played with it a little bit.
So Apple closed down the Apple Store this morning, Tuesday the 9th, and everybody got excited because we thought it was new Mac laptops. No, but it is Aperture. I think at new Mac, I think we've all agreed earlier, might have gone by so fast that you didn't hear it, that we do think the new Mac laptops are imminent.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to buy a laptop till they do it. And maybe this is kind of one of them games of chicken that Apple's playing with me. Like, we're not going to announce the new laptops till Leo buys it, and I'm not going to buy a new laptop till Apple announces it. So we'll see who blinks first, Apple.
It just depends on how much Leo needs a new laptop.
I need it. So, but Aperture 3, I have to say, looking at what they've added, which is face recognition,
location,
GPS, huge. By the way, both of these from iPhoto, although I'm told that the facial recognition is more flexible even than the iPhoto. And then finally, regional correction a la Lightroom, that I, a long-time Lightroom user, am actually now looking at Aperture.
Well, and for me as a long-time Aperture user, I just never really, for some reason, Aperture worked for me. I never really got my head around Lightroom, in the way. And there's no good, no reason for it other than I, had Aperture first. I got comfortable with it. All my photos are in there.
These are both programs, by the way, that pro photographers, but even serious amateurs use for their workflow.
Prosumer. They're kind of prosumer.
Yeah. Well, pros use them too,
pros.
believe me.
But
they use it for workflow. So you take a bunch of pictures, you bring it in, you import it into Lightroom or Aperture, you use it to select the photos and to correct the photos. Not Photoshop style correction, but kind of basic correction with curves and white balance. And now, both with Lightroom and Aperture, you can do a little bit of Photoshop style retouching. They have a brush.
And in the past, people would ask me, which one should I get? And I'd ask, well, what do you want this program to do? If you want it to manage massive numbers of photos for you quickly and easily, I would normally say, Aperture is the way to go. If that's what, and you want to do basic overall corrections, if you want to have a lot more control over, editing the photos, then Lightroom is going to be, more what you want.
Lightroom has pretty good asset management.
It does. I personally think that the asset management within Aperture is better than Lightroom.
Okay,
I think that the editing tools in Lightroom are significantly better.
I haven't tried Aperture since version 1, and it was so slow and buggy. I said I'm not going to do this again. So now I'm ready. But I think that, and I think Lightroom for a long time up until this release, and I haven't tested it enough to know whether this release is going to be better than Lightroom as far as the editing stuff goes. But I do think that this is something that you had to come out. I've been dying for this to come out because I've been really tempted. I still play around with iPhoto, partially because I wanted, I want the facial recognition. More importantly, I wanted the GPS stuff. Now, one of the cool things about the facial recognition, you can see how they've refined it a little bit. So if I can refine it to events. So the reason this is important is if I'm a wedding photographer and I have lots and lots and lots of different events that I've shot, I don't want it to try to find the face of this bride across all the photos I've ever taken in Aperture, so I can confine that in Aperture to just this event that That's
I'm
kind of
nice. Well, and that's the kind of pro feature that you don't need in iPhoto.
So you can have facial recognition in a per project basis as opposed to globally. That's great.
So that's but having the extra stuff that you had in iPhoto, you knew that it had to come into Aperture. That was the minimum. Sync up that it had, but also this location, brush based, controls is going to, I think, is going to make a huge difference for
Lightroom's had that for a long time.
It has.
So
this is catching up in that area,
and it was the one thing that maybe would keep me from trying Aperture again. So I'm definitely going to try. There's a free download.
Yeah,
and then what is it? $2.99?
It's $199.
Okay, so it's cheaper than Lightroom.
I believe it's $199. I think it's $99 upgrade if you already have it, and there is a version that you can download and test.
The other thing that Lightroom is good is I don't know if you would care about this, but it's cross-platform. So if you buy one license, you can run it on a Mac and a Windows.
It doesn't really
machine.
matter a lot to me.
Oh, nice. I had been an iPhoto user for a long time. When I started getting just incrementally more serious about photography, not really serious, but I bit the bullet and tried the Lightroom 2. I'd looked at Lightroom 1 and Aperture, and in both instances, it felt like way more Chrome than usefulness to me. And Lightroom 2 for me was like a revelation.
Yeah.
I mean, iPhoto is really easy to use, but the thing that Lightroom does that you kind of, I think, teased at is regardless of your level of expertise, it's meant to scale. And boy, when you peg your CPUs with that thing, you know about scale.
Yes, you
it's
do.
a hog. But what's neat is when you import from a card or from a disk or your phone or whatever, you have the option of, first of all, tagging everything, which, tags can be kind of stupid, but they're super useful when you're managing giant sets of data. So in this instance, I could say, add all these to the following collection. Do the add the punch filter or all the what are those called? Not filters, but the presets. So you can have like this whole series. You know how in Photoshop it's kind of janky to like deal with a large number of photos to do the same thing. It's not really meant to do that. Lightroom is meant to take 500 photos,
Right.
and automatically white balance all of them according
Really
to this
handy.
preset.
Yeah.
Tag them with all of this, and then organize them in the following way. So if you're of course, a lot of photographers, especially if you're shooting in RAW, you start getting in the habit of deleting photos you don't like the second you take them,
Right.
which is a giant tip, by the way,
Yep.
so you don't fill your computer with 20 megabyte files. But then, anyway, that was the thing for me. That was such a revelation. And it really does become like a part of your workflow, especially if you're using something like the camera's preference pane, where you can set it to automatically, import them straight into the app of your choice. Do you guys use that? Do you guys use the cameras?
And Aperture definitely lets you do a lot of that as well. So, it is very important.
I think
to
they're
be
very
tagging on the way
comparable at
in.
this point.
It's very important to be tagging your photos as they come in, because that's the time when you have control over it. Usually, for me, I try to back those cards up almost, as the moment that I try each event. I end an event and I back and I pull the card into Aperture. I don't want to have it sitting I don't want multiple events on it in general. So usually that's pretty easy.
That's also that's got to be a habit for somebody like you. That's got to be the habit of a videographer too, because anybody I know who shoots tons of video has to become a cataloger.
Well,
Has to
and here's
become
an
really
interesting
anal
right.
about the Sharpie. You Sharpie everything.
Well,
the second.
Well, here's an interesting thing. Sunken Planet's telling me in the chat room, Aperture 3 now supports video clips, which
And that I didn't even know
is
about.
huge
That's-
because a lot
And
of us
given
are
the
using video a
the
lot.
integration with iMovie, I'm really envious of the integration with
Yeah.
iMovie, because I love that the horribly hobbled iMovie, but I love that or GarageBand. I mean, that's where Apple is getting one
I'm
thing.
thinking I'm going to have to go Aperture 3. I really am.
I
Yeah.
think it's going to be a very strong upgrade.
Now it has a plugin. It's had for a while a plugin architecture. Are people writing the plugins?
We wrote some.
Yeah.
And it's a good plugin architecture.
Are there-
It's
Yeah,
a little there's some roundabout stuff with it that isn't as integrated as we'd like it to be, or at least hasn't been in the previous versions. I don't know about this version yet, so it'll be interesting to see what we can do.
This is a major upgrade.
Yeah, no, it took them a long time to do it. They definitely they really rewrote a lot of big chunks of things to really speed it up as well.
Yeah.
It's a lot of new features, but it's also a lot of performance
I think if you add, to me, because I've been using a third-party app to add GPS track logs, so the ability to do that, the face recognition, the ability to now handle video.
Well, and the reason the
all
video
of which
so,
is Lightroom doesn't have.
Well, and the important thing with the video is that what you'd end up with a lot of times is that when you were bringing stuff into Aperture, it would say, by the way, you have a bunch of video files,
Right.
because
Can't-
you're shooting
can't use
video
it. Right.
on and every still camera. You're not going to be able to. 2 years from now, you will not be able to buy a standard still camera
Right. Doesn't
that
do
doesn't
video.
shoot video. I mean, almost all of them do now. And so, when you import it, you just have to have
this has built-in
the ability to manage both of those.
HD video support, clip trimming.
Right.
You have complete audio abilities. You can create a JPEG from a frame, detach the audio file.
Boy, you know what? Suddenly, the increased hobbling of iMovie and QuickTime is starting to seem clearer and clearer.
These are pro apps now, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, like it's what they did to QuickTime. The QuickTime Player app is just a pity. That's a
awful.
shame. I mean, that was such a great little app for just doing, I got a thing of my daughter. I just pulled off my 7D and I want to just trim it. Well, I've got to open it in iMovie, which now doesn't support all kinds of different exports that it used to. We talked about this. Can I plug something that I like for Lightroom just while we're at it? I know it's a little bit of an off topic, but it's really cool. Is that okay? Can I plug something?
Go for it.
I'm not paid.
I know what you're going to say, though.
The Flickr plugin?
Yeah. He's done a ton of plugins.
Well, I believe
it's one of the most ungruber-like. It's got to be one of the most ungruber-friendly interfaces on my machine. It's
ugly.
Really,
it's ugly. I admit it.
It looks like an engineer did it, but this guy Jeffrey Friedel has a really neat plugin. And so whatever. There's probably a million of these. What I like about his is it again, if you are a person who uses taxonomies, and you say you got pictures of your kid that you only taking a bath, you only want your family to see. If you add a food tag to it, you give a given tag to that. The plugin understands that whenever it has the following tags, give it the following level of privacy or publicity.
It is one of those interfaces where you get this big long form.
Well, you know what? It's kind of a set it and forget it app.
But you don't see that form after you.
But you
he's got plugins, by the way, for Facebook. The same basic plugin for Facebook, Flickr, SmugMug. Jeffrey's great. Jeffrey wrote the book on regular expressions, which is
regex.info, man. This is the guy.
This is the guy on regex.
Hey, Leo, you want to see the international hand gesture for regular expressions?
Yeah, please. Ready? Yeah. You need an S in there.
Control that. Oh, for you, it's not going to be funny on the radio.
Okay. Yeah, we'll just have to. You have to watch the video if you want to see it.
I'm confused and amazed.
Yeah. Only people who do a lot of regex would laugh at that. Basically, you did a lot of
S hand gesture / everything I just.
You did a lot of back and forward slashes.
By the way, just as a note for the QuickTime is that I think QuickTime 7 is still on
still there.
Leopard. You can still open it.
Well, you have to. Don't you have to install it?
I think it's in utilities.
They took out the Pro option and they took out a bunch of the.
It's very frustrating. In fact, I
version.
stopped using Safari to download my files because Safari opens the new QuickTime and I can't save to disk.
Yeah.
It's just driving me nuts. It was such a bad idea, and it's another reason to hate Snow Leopard, which I do. I do. I have only installed on one machine, and I will not install it on anything else.
Don't even get me started.
Well, we know you. We know we know what happened to you.
It took me until 2 weeks ago to figure out what was wrong with my Mac.
Nobody understands us, Merlin.
You know what it was? I had had my developer release of that was blocking. No log that I could find showed it. Maybe I'm just an idiot, but it had a developer release that was blocking the update.
Oh no!
Of stuff.
Somebody just told me you can't run Aperture 3 on anything but Snow Leopard. Is that true?
Nice.
Oh, you bastards! You did it!
I have to admit, the one I'm testing it on has Snow Leopard, it didn't occur to me.
We feel like we've developed an application that people are going to really enjoy. We've looked at how people use this, and that's why you need a unibody
You sons of bitches, you did it! Oh, God. Is that really true? I mean, I have tech specs. That can't be right. Does it require 10.6?
Probably. It's probably got some of the...
No. It's a lie. It works on 10.5.8. It will work on Leopard. Thank God.
Oh, I think it's that if you're running on Snow Leopard, it runs a 64-bit. I think that's the.
It is a 64-bit app.
64-bit app.
Okay.
So
you guys run in 64-bit?
No.
Does it make a big difference?
No.
It can with speed and depending on what you're doing, but the time that we really need 64-bit is dealing with RAM issues.
It addresses more of your available.
Yeah, but we don't have that problem typically with Aperture or Final Cut. What we really have that was 3D apps when we're rendering something really, really big. And that's when you really need 64-bit.
Right.
Or
a lot
Photoshop,
of RAM,
when you're opening a very, very large file and having lots of layers.
It's all about RAM.
Sometimes you really need the 64-bit.
Okay,
I flipped it off because my biggest performance gain was every preference pane I use had to relaunch the app every time it opened.
Other than that,
32-bit preference panes has to reload the whole. If I want to, Hazel, sure, let's reload the preference panes.
All right, we're going to do our picks of the... Yeah, go ahead. Shake your fist there, Merlin Mann. Yeah, you oughta. You. We're going to do our picks of the week in just a second, but we want to do quickly an Audible pick before we do that. Audible, another one of our great sponsors, one I have used since 2001 before the Twit network was a twinkle in my eye, a gleam in my little eye. I love audiobooks. I was listening to audiobooks because I had this long commute to San Francisco. I was 5 hours a day. Some days I would be listening, and it saved my life. I would have killed somebody. Probably didn't save my life. Just saved me a lot of time in jail. But I was using cassettes. And you'd get a box of 20 cassettes, and one would break, and you go, I can't look at it. Or, I mean, it was not good for my blood pressure. Then in 2001, along comes Audible, and man, I'm going crazy. I'm saying, look, I have a Diamond Rio. I can download a book in a minute, and I can put it on my Rio and take it with me. It was just and you keep the book forever. You don't have to mail the box back. You don't have to. Audible.com is the place to find audiobooks. Audible.com/MacBreak is the place to go to get a free one. You could sign up for the Gold account. That's a book a month, and your first book is free, and you can cancel at any time, and the book is yours to keep. You should check if you have if you're something else besides an iPhone or an iPod or an Apple device you want to play it on. You should check the Device Center. It does work with almost everything, the Zune, the Kindle. I've just found out it will work with the iPad. It's in the iPad specs that it supports the Audible formats 2, 3, and 4. Audible.com/MacBreak is the place to go to take a look at some of the most amazing stuff in the world.
I'm still listening to such a great book.
If you say Spartans.
No.
Okay.
It's called Shop Classes Soulcraft.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. It's such a great book.
Who was it that told us about that?
So I think it might have been Andy. It might have been... I don't remember who it was, but I downloaded it, and I'm just I'm so hooked on it. It is just it's a philosophical view of the need to do things to understand them, and the need to work on physical items, and how we're kind of moving away from that, and how you can't really know something unless you're actually working on it, and it's from someone who does work in a shop, works on motorcycles, engines, and stuff like that.
It's like it's the modern Zen and the art of motorcycle.
Yeah, I mean, talking about being the trades and that we've kind of demeaned them as something that isn't important, but it actually is very important to our thinking process. And as someone who grew up tinkering, I keep on going, yeah.
I'm going to recommend
just really great
a book in your honor, Merlin, since you're here, and I know you will concur that this is a good book to get. Merlin's handle on Twitter is Hot Dogs Ladies.
Oh, no way. Is it on there?
Oh, you bet. John Kennedy Toole, A Confederacy of Dunces, which is the most wonderful picaresque novel. It's just amazing, and the story behind it is amazing. This guy wrote this novel and just kind of put it in a drawer, couldn't get anybody to publish it. Passed away.
He took his own life.
Maybe because he was depressed because he couldn't get the novel published. I don't know. But his mother, who really believed in him, pounded the pavement, went from publisher to publisher, got it published, won a Pulitzer Prize posthumously. Say that
went
three times
Went
fast.
to Walker Piercy and said, please read this. I'm at the end of my rope. And Walker Piercy totally championed him and got it published.
And it is considered one of the absolute classics.
Pulitzer Prize.
Amazing book. And if you haven't heard it, Barrett Whitener even if you've read it, Barrett Whitener brings it to life. This is a good book for an audiobook because there's so many characters and the voices. It's perfect. A Confederacy of Dunces. If you haven't read it, or even if you have, this could be your first Audible book, and it's absolutely free. Just go to audible.com/MacBreak. I'm telling you, you're going to love Audible. I do. Give it a try. Time for our picks of the week. This show has been really all picks all the time. We've talked about a bunch of software, but Merlin, I'm gonna let you. If we haven't used up your picks, go ahead.
No, that's the problem. I got a million. I have so many. You know what? I was gonna do Kicks or Quicks or whatever. I'm gonna hold off on that. Okay, can I do an iPhone app? Is that cool?
Yeah.
Okay. It's an iPhone app called Siri, SIRI. .com, and it's a free app. I learned about this. Michael Sippy mentioned this, and I guess he knows these guys and was saying it's pretty good. Siri is at the heart of it. Gosh, what does your phone do horribly? Voice recognition. I said not long ago that if they should rebrand it as accidentally phoning somebody you met once in 1994, because that's what I constantly do. I go like, play album.
Hi. Yeah, we haven't talked in a while. Yeah.
Like play album. OK Computer, Deluxe Edition. Dialing Jane Simmons. What?
Stop.
No, cancel, escape.
Cancel. It's so embarrassing.
Carrot H. But Siri is an app that I'm not sure what their model's going to be, but it's a voice recognition app that has all kinds of baked in on the road, on the go functionality. You ask it things, and it pulls it up, and it finds extraordinary things. So you can say things, for example, you could say, who is Leo Laporte? I did this for myself. I said, who is Merlin Mann? And it found my Wikipedia entry, like in a couple seconds. I can say, get me a reservation at House of Prime Rib at 7 for 4 people. And a staggering amount of the time, it gets all of the voice right and then does it. You can say, how do I get to Walgreens? And it does a business search based on your closest Walgreens and then shows you a map on how to get there. You could say, how far am I from the office? And it will use your office information that you entered to show you how far away you are. This is just scratching the surface. This morning I said, who is TV on the radio? Because I heard this TV on the radio song. It pulled up their Wikipedia entry. And then I said, remind me to buy Return to Cookie Mountain. And it emails me a reminder to go and do that. So really what I would suggest, it's free, get it. I'm just scratching the surface. I just want to get you excited to try this. Other things it does, what's happening at 7:30 tonight in San Francisco. And it'll find events that are happening. This, just as a voice front end to functionality, this is going to curl your pubes because it is crazy.
Well, too late, I'm afraid.
My
goodness.
And it's like there's endless stuff that I just did that Mac thing where I started just doing stuff I knew wouldn't work, but it worked.
So, I've heard a lot of people say, so do you have to speak carefully? I mean, it really does work.
No, you can be me. You can be some idiot from the Midwest on ADD drugs, and it finds everything. It's great.
You're from the Midwest? I thought you were from Florida.
I am with, I'm originally from the Midwest. I'm with Michael. I think Apple needs to seriously look at this. Even if they just buy the technology, just buy the butts to put in seats. Obviously, they have a broader set of commands than I'm aware of for the iPhone. And I'm telling you, you just sit there. I just talked to it. I said, what's the meaning of life? And it said 42.
No, really?
You know?
It did?
No, it knew the joke. It knew
that my God. Okay, I'm downloading it now.
No,
That's all I needed to hear.
It out. And best of all, so one other quick thing about it, 1.5 quick things. First of all, it's really a good-looking app. And it displays all the information as an IM-like stream. So rather than having screens that you modally move through, there's a river of all the stuff you've looked at, and it remembers your history in case you want to just go. And you can choose to type it in rather than say it. And then finally, do go through all of the examples. It will periodically say, hey, want to see how this works? Go try these out. So you can go through and say, like, show me how to call for a cab. Get me a cab where I am now. You know what you can do, Leo? You can say, where am I?
That's cool.
Oh, no, I need that because I'm a mess.
Where am I?
Show me the map where I am. S-I-R-I.
And it's free.
It is free, as in free.
So I resisted downloading it because I didn't want my heart broken and because I'm not using the iPhone. So it didn't really matter so much. But, wow, I'm now very tempted.
It feels, I could see this being on other devices for sure, but it's got that, the way that Andy and Gruber described using the iPad and that sense of affordance and speed and integration, the software being very tightly integrated with what it can do. It was a joy to use. I spent 45 minutes yesterday walking around talking into my phone, and it was pretty great. It's got flights. What time does the flight from San Francisco arrive?
This is something that is well suited to you, Merlin, because you like kind of figuring out systems that have their own internal logic and grammar and using them well. I mean, that's what you do with Quicksilver, what you do with that new one, Quicks.
Yeah. Well, you know what it does? And it's like I have not jumped on this bandwagon because I'm not an iPad, rah-rah boy. But what does the iPad do? As everybody said, especially Andy, it takes it. Nevin Mergen, all these guys have been saying this. What does this thing do? One layer of abstraction at a time. It's taking out the area of thinking about affordances the computer users have completely had to think about in the past. Everybody who loves these like giant Unix things with a million radio buttons and clicks and, manually changing P lists and all that kind of stuff for the quote-unquote control. This is the kind of thing that is made for the iPhone. For when you're walking around, the only thing that would make this better is if I had a jailbroken phone. Wow, it looks like they make it for BlackBerry too. Cool.
Oh,
so
that's good.
if I had a jailbroken phone, I would bind this to double click on the home button. I would use this tons. So anyway, check it out. Siri.com.
Siri, free.
I'm not compensated by them. I did receive a free copy of their free app.
We have to disclose that now.
Yeah,
I can't wait to try it. Alex, Lindsay, your pick of the week.
I have two.
Yep.
One hardware, one software. So my software pick of the week is Aperture, actually. Aperture 3.
Yep, that was going to be mine too, so go ahead.
I ruined everything, didn't I?
No, because I realized after I picked it that wait a minute, that's the first thing we're going to talk about. So
I think it's a huge update. I think there are so many cool things that they've added to it, and I've just since this morning got to I was nugging through it this morning at the house, getting ready for this, and I think it's exciting. So anyway, that's my pick for the week as our software, and I got a new set of headphones because I do that every once in a while.
You liked the Etymotics before.
I did.
Oh God, I love my Etymotics.
Yeah,
so
I haven't killed the Etymotics yet. Yeah. They're still alive, but I needed one that was going to be in my Scotty vest, and then one that I could carry outside. So the Etymotics have become part of the Scotty vest, and And so I got these, and these are
So you actually
Shure.
built the headphones into the jacket.
They
No, I know what you're saying.
It's got a channel. It's got a
But the
channel.
thing is,
Leo.
once you put it in, no, I know. But once you put it in the channel, it's like such a pain to get it in there and a pain to take it out. You're not going to wash the jacket, and you don't want to take the headphones out, so you just build them in, basically.
Well, I there's been times when I've been caught without headphones.
No, so it's part of the
stressful
jacket.
experience. So it's built for that.
I laughed when that arrived. I laughed.
Ha-ha.
I said, Leo,
Ha-ha.
really, Scott Vest, are you serious?
Yeah.
I'd never take the thing off now. I had to take it off for this because I didn't want to be that guy. I didn't want to be like James Hetfield with the Metallica shirt. I didn't want to wear the twit. I'm such a dork. It's like a giant nerd fanny pack. It's like a fanny pack that keeps you warm. And it's amazing.
The funniest thing is that I got the Tropic version of the Scotty vest, and it doesn't have as many pockets as the Twit one. And I felt like, what am I supposed to do with this? There's barely any pockets. I mean, there's like 15 pockets in the one, but I'm so used to having the full 22 that I was a little upset because I now I'm used to having that Scotty
so we
vest.
got to run those. So give us your pick. This
is a Shure
headphones.
Shure SE115s. These are the ones that work with the iPhone. Here's
so
the
it has
deal.
a built-in mic.
It has a built-in. I don't buy any that don't have the built-in mic.
You gotta have that.
I put the triple flanges in because that's the only way to listen to music. And then what's nice about it, it's got the little volume up and back and forth. And it also, but here's the bummer, is that the microphone is just a little further away than the Etymotics, right. And so it's not quite as nice. The bass is better. My one complaint about the Etymotics that come for the iPhone. Bass is not so good. It's a little. It's not as much as I'd like. This is $120, not $150, and the bass I think is better in the Shures than it is in the Etymotics.
I have 2 pairs of the Etymotics,
and they're great. One's for the iPhones. I'm not talking about there's a lot of Etymotic versions.
No, they're higher end Etymotics, which I also have, but I keep one at the gym in my locker.
But the one that has the mic for the iPhone for the Etymotics, I find that the bass isn't as good as.
You got to really push them in. But I got the I think they're HF5s. These guys.
Yeah.
So
Got the he's wearing them for his headphones.
Yeah,
he can't hear us now. He's such a jerk that he's back.
I should have kept my Adam Tony.
They work with the Nexus One, by the way, very well.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I'm listening to my Zune on these ones.
I love my Nexus One. I know Gruber hates it, but I love my Nexus One. That's what I use for a phone. Although now that Siri is out,
you might have to go back.
You might
have to return to the iPhone land.
Maybe when the iPad.
It's a beautiful world.
No, it's much more beautiful over here in the Nexus world.
Wow.
I'm not kidding.
Wow.
The OLED screen alone just
I don't
kicks
believe
it.
you, but I
look
so
at
cute.
it. But I got to warn you. You're going to want it. You're going to want it.
Your Jedi mind tricks won't work on me.
You're going to want it.
I like my iPhone.
You're going to want it.
So, did you have to do anything to the boot.sh?
No, it works out of the box.
It's key
no,
drive.
it's not anything like that. People think it's like some geek phone. It's not a geek phone. It works fine. It's got voice recognition built throughout the thing. So anytime you get a keyboard, you can say it. Does a very good job of that. I love that.
Can you quit a hung process with just your voice?
No.
That'd be handy.
And this is actually the argument against multitasking. It does multitask, and there are a lot of times when that's great. But I have in the past had the equivalent of a beach ball, where the phone is busy downloading a podcast and then won't answer the phone or something like that. So you have to be. But you know what? You just don't do that. You learn which applications.
It's a beautiful phone. It really is. It's almost a shame for these companies that the iPhone came out, because in any other universe, any of these phones would have been like the best thing ever.
Yeah. It's only crashed during a call once. and was because of multitasking. I completely understand why Apple doesn't want to do multitasking, especially in a phone platform. All right, well, I'm just going to, because we're running out of time, and I know, Merlin, you got to go, and I have to go, because I have to go talk to Adam Savage. We're getting ready for the Macworld.
I've got all day.
Shut up. We got ready for the Macworld Live event, which is my keynote at Macworld Expo. It's Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. Please come to Macworld and see Adam Savage, Heather Gold. She's going to do the comedy stylings of Heather Gold. The great Roger McGuinn, founder of the Byrds, is going to play some folk music for us. And hard rock Star Trek parody band Warp 11 with the world-famous Kiki Stockhammer as front lady will play for us. So it's going to be a lot of fun. That's at Macworld Expo, 2 o'clock. But if you can't make it, please do come. But if you can't make it, you can also watch it at live.twit.tv. And it will be our MacBreak for next week. So you'll be able to hear it or watch it after the fact.
So I shouldn't come here next Tuesday?
We are not doing a show next Tuesday, no. Okay. Unless Apple comes out with new notebooks or something, then we'll do an extra show. We may, you know what? Apple's going to do that to me, aren't they? Yeah. We're going to, we'll probably do a show next Tuesday. Yeah.
That's how they get you.
That's, just sons of guns. Merlin Mann is at 43folders.com. Just the greatest. We are so glad to get you back in the fold, so to speak.
Thank you. It's nice to be folded.
Watch out for the staples, though. It's really hard. Fives.com is a great place.
Fives is down. I got hit with that the WordPress thing a while back. I got to bring it back.
Crumb bum. I loved that.
Yeah, Kung Fu Grip 43 folders.
That's it. Kung Fu Grip is a good place to go. That's his tumble log.
It's fine for what it is. But I'll be walking around at Macworld. I'll be in the Omni Group booth on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, like 1:30. If you want to come see me talk about OmniFocus ninja tricks.
Awesome.
And I'll be around, so come say hi. Please do. If you see me, please do say hi. I look like this.
Look, he'll be in Tiny Town. Nice hair today.
Tiny Town.
Very nice hair,
Thanks.
Merlin. He's got his annual haircut, I think. It looks fantastic.
It's unkind.
Alex Lindsay is the head honcho, the capo di capo of the Pixel Corps, pixelcorps.com for the Multimedia Guild of Artists learning and working together, pixelcorps.tv for the great podcasts. And that's where to go to get the incredible Mac breaks. There'll be 30 to 50 of them from Macworld.
We're going to cover a lot. I think we're going to cover all of them. All the booths out there. No, we're going to get to a lot of the booths. The things that we find interesting. Justine and I and Andy and Merlin. So there'll be a lot of heavy coverage.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week. Another Mac Break is broke.